You have a need to have around you that benefit from being around you. You can feel like the man that you want to be. Damn, man. These ripping motherfuckers. Anyway, just a giggle for me this afternoon. And I listen to this motherfucker, and I thought he might put some gloves on and swing with y'all. He want to box a match with y'all. One of y'all high achieving black women.
And this is what we got to deal with, fellas. This is what y'all got to deal with. Y'all thought it was just the women that was in y'all way. There's actually a lot of brothers that's in y'all way. What's going on, public offender?
It's going good, man. How you doing?
What's up, man? What's your name?
Public offender.
Okay, so you just gonna go by your tag?
Yeah. 43.
43. You're an OG. Okay, then.
OG. Jesus.
I'm sorry, you're unc.
I'll take
Okay, now what you got on this, man?
So I didn't hear your video. I didn't hear what he was responding to directly, but I definitely will say that I hear the point he was trying to make, and I think what basically he was just saying. Okay, let me back it up a little bit. First and foremost, I disagree with the whole notion that the nuclear family is the way to rebuild the community. The nuclear family was never a real thing, especially for Black people. It was never attainable for Black people, like in general, and it really wasn't attainable for most white people. And it was only like a 20-year period in American history where it was even feasible for any significant amount of society in this country. So saying that it's the way to rebuild the community when the community has never been built, and B, it is literally a white supremacist talking point. Like it was created by white supremacists. The whole idea of the nuclear family in America was created by white supremacists, and it was propagated by capitalists. So
let me ask you a question then about that.
Okay.
So the whole nuclear family thing is a white. Are you saying that's a white supremacist structure?
Yes, it's a white supremacist structure. That's not how most Black people on the continent of Africa grow up.
So I'll grant you that. Let's say that the nuclear Black family is a white structure. Mom, dad, white children, household.
Yep.
So right now, looking at it today, it's not that, right?
It's not that. What do you mean?
If you look at the Black community in its entirety, it doesn't necessarily represent the nuclear family today, right?
No.
If you look at the numbers.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so if it's not the white supremacist structure today, then what is it?
Today it's a lot of.
What I'm asking is what structure? If it's not this structure, what structure is it?
It's fractured. Like it's always been fractured though.
Okay, so the white supremacist nuclear family structure today the Black nuclear family is structured. I mean, it's a fractured structure.
No. What I'm saying is you're asking what is the state of the Black community today, and the state of it is fractured, but it's always been fractured, right?
Okay,
we've never been together collectively.
So there's never been a time in history, in Black history, or in this
country, never. Yeah, never.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna argue over history.
Yeah.
But what I want to ask you is, what was the cause of the fracture?
Slavery, Jim Crow.
So in 2022, if
2025,
if a man and woman get together, or in 2025, if a man and woman get together and get married, have kids, and they divorce, whatever happens, let's just say we don't know what happens.
Okay. Well, why do we have to skip past what happens though? Because that's important.
Well, we can get to that. But what are you saying that slavery is the cause of that, of a marriage felon?
I mean, that's a.
Let me give you an example. Tyrese and who was he married?
Whatever his ex-wife was. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. That are you saying that was fractured from slavery?
I'm saying that the remnants, the negative impacts of slavery, have yet to be rectified in the Black community because the white supremacist structure has never addressed it. We never got reparations. It's never been amended. It's never our problems still exist, and they stem from slavery. They go back to slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, you literally could draw a line from slavery till today, and yes, it's all connected. So I mean, but yeah.
So draw a line for me. How Tyrese Gibson and Samantha Lee draw the slavery line that caused that fracture.
I don't know. It doesn't mean every single divorce is caused by slavery, whether it's a Black person or a white person. But
so are most divorces caused by slavery?
Are most divorces involving Black people? Probably, yeah. I would assume so.
Probably. So
yeah, I mean, if you get
but your own premise on this, you're not even sure about it.
How can you be sure of, you see what I'm saying? But like, yeah, I'm sure because almost every problem that exists in this country today, a lot of it, if not all of it, could be traced back to slavery. But if you want me to be more specific, this is what I'll tell you. The reason why they got divorced probably had to do with misogyny and the patriarchy, which it definitely predates slavery. So if you want me to say it was before slavery, then absolutely, and then it was before slavery. The reason why interpersonally, right, men and women get divorced, Black, white, or otherwise, has almost everything to do with the ways in which the vast majority of the time men fail in the relationships. Like, men control, like men like to say, I'm sure you said it and you probably heard it, that men control marriage, right? Which is like a weird thing to say. Men don't necessarily, I don't think men control marriage or SMEX or anything like that. But men,
the statement is access to marriage.
Yeah, I know what it is. But either men don't control the access to marriage. But what men do control is divorce. Men do control if that relationship ends the vast majority of the time. Okay, I agree with that.
Can you elaborate on men don't control access to marriage, and then give me some elaboration on men control divorce?
So it takes two people to get, like, so even if you ask, the fact that you have to ask a woman to marry you already disproves the point that you control access to marriage, because if you have to ask her, then doesn't she control it? I'm saying, and I don't even think women control it necessarily, but I'm saying, like, if you have to ask her, then it automatically disproves the whole notion that men control access to marriage, first and foremost. Secondly, the part about getting divorced, the actions of men, the vast majority, not in every relationship, because I know some people like to think I speak in absolutes and I don't. In the vast majority of relationships, when the relationship ends or dissolves or devolves or whatever, it is almost always related to the behaviors of the man in the relationship, right? So cheating, financial abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and then we can get into what that looks like. But that's where it comes from.
Okay, so you're saying that men have control over the divorce by way of
their actions. Yeah.
And where is your credibility on this marriage?
Oh, I mean, if you want to look up any study on why marriage is why the divorce rate is so high, or not, I don't think the divorce rate is so high necessarily, but why marriages end. If you want to look up the disproportionate amount of labor that women do in relationships compared to men, how much more hours they do in, doing work in the home, how many more hours women spend with the children, how women feel like their husband is their biggest burden. Not that, like, so when women have children and they have a husband, they feel like their husband is a larger burden than their children. So you could just keep going down the line, and there's studies on all of this stuff. So you can look it up if you want to. This is not my assumption necessarily, even though I'm married and I can speak personally and I try not to speak anecdotally, but yeah, not anecdotally. That is like actually what's going on.
Okay, so I haven't seen any studies on that. Maybe you can share them to me via DM. But
yeah.
I haven't seen any studies that suggest
So
the reason why men are being divorced is because of some of the things you said.
what's the number one reason for divorce?
Last time I checked, and it fluctuates between finances, infidelity.
Infidelity is still number one. Finance is like top 6.
Irreconcilable differences is what I think that's a way couples are hiding the fact. Hold on, let me add some more.
Yeah, but that's vague. That's vague though. That's vague. That's vague though. Irreconcilable differences is vague. But the number one reason people are getting divorced is still infidelity, right? And who cheats more, men or women?
I'm not sure. We will have to look at the statistics.
Men cheat more statistically. So,
okay, where can I find out? Because you sound like you know.
You could literally look anything that I'm saying right now, right? You could just write it down. You could literally just type it into a search engine, type it in, it'll pop up. Pew has it. There's so much evidence on this. It's not even funny.
Listen, I get that. But you're saying it as if we're talking we're compartmentalizing where they're cheating at.
Say it again.
One could argue that you can maybe argue that men cheat more, but then we're talking about within the marriage. Is there also a sub statistic that supports the fact that men cheat more within the marriage? Because you may be saying it in range, like men cheat. Men cheat more.
No, I'm talking about specifically in marriages. Specifically in marriages. Yeah.
You said it's pure research.
Yeah, you can look up the rate of. I'm sorry, look up who cheats more, men or women, like whatever. And there's a bunch of studies. Like there's a ton of data on this. Men cheat more than women. Like we know that. That's not even to me. That's like, do you need a study to prove that? But there's tons of studies that prove that. But men cheat more than women, specifically in. Hold on, KGR. In marriages, specifically, men cheat more than women. Right.
Okay, so is that your only?
No. The reason why that's one example I gave you, and I started at the top. Right. I started at the top. So I said, what is the number one reason for divorce? You said finances or marriage. I mean, or infidelity. It's infidelity still. And then I said, who cheats more, men or women? Okay, it's men. We know, everybody knows that it's men. So the number one reason. Okay.
So let's try to look at this one thing at a time.
Okay.
You said men cheat more.
Yep.
It said men, roughly 40% of married men report having cheated at least once.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that they had access to look at all of men in the marriage to be able to accurately say that men cheat more.
Yeah, but that's not how studies are done, Darwin.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then we got to take into the fact that, okay, why are they cheating?
Well, they're cheating because they can. We know men and women cheat for different reasons.
So now when you make a statement saying they're cheating because they can, now we got to be able to look at the statistics to support that. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe there's any sites you can go to that men are saying we cheat because we can.
There are studies done on why men cheat and why women cheat, and what they
say it wasn't done on why they cheat, but I'm talking about basically on a statement you're saying they cheat because they can.
I'm telling you that's when they polled the men and they asked men why do they cheat. Basically the way that the study went was they asked the men like, how did you feel about your partner at the time when you cheated with them? Were you in love with them? And most of the men said yes. So it wasn't that they.
I pulled up some information over here, and it says the reason for cheating for men often cite sexual dissatisfaction, number one. Number two, desire for variety. Number three, opportunity and ego boost.
So what am I? So like I said, men cheat because they can.
I understand that you made a statement, but it's just funny how you skip past the number one reason.
Well, I didn't though. All of those things, none of those things cancel what I'm saying, brother. You being sexually frustrated is the second reason you gave could be the first reason too. You see what I'm saying? So read it again.
These are ranked from 1 to 3. The top 3.
Darwin, listen to what I'm saying. Read the first reason again.
Sexual dissatisfaction.
Okay, read the second reason.
Desire for variety.
Okay, cool. And we already know the third one is because they can, because they have access. Okay, cool. So all of those three things literally can feed into one another because your sexual frustration could simply come from you not having a variety, and then you cheat because you can. All those things can coincide with one another. They don't cancel each other out. It's not like they're all separate from one another. They all feed into the same thing. Men cheat because they can. That's what I'm saying. And women cheat because they're being abused by the man in the relationship. They're being neglected. They're being gaslit. A lot of them are being cheated on. They cheat as a reflex. Like, women don't cheat. I'm not saying ever. Generally speaking, women don't cheat just because they want to sleep with a bunch of dudes. Women don't cheat just because they think another dude is hot or they got access to some young guy at the office or whatever. That's why men cheat. Men cheat for those reasons. That's what I'm saying, which per the thing you just read, it would support what I'm saying.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is if you was to cross-reference every reason with a man and a woman, it would be his sexual dissatisfaction is maybe linked to her emotional satisfaction.
No, his dissatisfaction is linked to him being socialized to think that he needs to sleep with every woman on the planet. It has nothing to do with the woman. Because again, when they ask the men, how did you feel about the women when you cheated? The men say, oh no, I still loved her. So it's not like they had any beef with their wife or their girlfriend or whatever. They compartmentalized it and they go, well, I could cheat. That's why men say, and you could disagree with me if you want to, but this is what men say. When men cheat and women cheat, it's worse when women cheat because women have feelings involved and stuff like that, right? Basically, what they're saying is that the women are cheating because they're in a bad place emotionally. Men are cheating because they just want to cheat, and it's just like some vagina there, and they just want to get it, right? And once they do that, the itch has been scratched. That's the way men sell it to the world, and that's why they always use that weird talking point. So that proves my point.
I get what you're saying, and this is really why I focus so heavily on a lot of the cases that I deal with whenever I do consultations. But what I don't want to do as a host on a topic, that y'all don't have any access to that information that I have. It's just to try to keep it on the statistics for fairness. So, but what I can tell you, what I do find is a lot of men are in sexless marriages the longer they stay in the marriage, and they're financially tied into the marriage. And if they divorce, then they get half their assets taken away.
Says who?
Children taken away.
Says who? What assets? Says who? Well, where are you getting that from?
I just told you this is part of the pool of men that I have to deal with in my line of business.
Okay, so anecdotally, so
it's unfair for me to insert that into this conversation because y'all don't have access to it. I'm just giving you a brief synopsis on that.
So basically, you're saying because I think that what you're saying is anecdotal at best, and so it's anecdotal, right? So, but most men don't lose half of their assets. Most men, what percentage of men pay alimony after a divorce?
Well, I know that. Now you're bringing it back to the statistics. I get it. I was just making a statement that most of the guys that I do deal with, most of those guys are providers.
Okay, so can we?
I speak to a specific audience in my content, and the guys I'm dealing with, I don't really typically deal with average guys, so to speak.
Okay, so
I'm just catching you up to speed from my position on why this guy pretty much came to attack my content.
But the thing is, though, brother, what I'm saying, Darwin, is he is right because he is speaking. You're speaking about men and women in general. You're not speaking about when you talk. I watched your content before. I've done reaction to your videos before. When you speak in general. You talk about women in general. You say this is what women, the modern woman. So you speak about women and men in general. That's where you go wrong. If you wanted to be, if you wanted to have this conversation and you wanted to say, well, I'm talking to a specific group of men, and I know it's not most men. It is a very small percentage of men. They're going through this. Then I wouldn't really have much problem with your content, to be honest with you, because I don't think what you're saying. I think what you talk about is extreme, but it doesn't mean it's untrue. I don't think there's no woman that does the things that you talk about. I don't think there's any men that don't experience the things you're talking about, but you don't present it in that way, and for good reason, right? Because if you talked about it about a specific subset of men, that most men wouldn't listen to you. So you sell it to them as men do this, and women do that. And these women are bad. And these modern women you must watch out for, right? But in reality, that's not the case statistically. And that's why you don't know about the statistics. You really don't want to go read the statistics.
I speak on the statistics as well. A lot of my content is very accurate.
Okay, but it's not, because you don't take into account, okay, so considering only 10% of men ever, or 10% of people, because it's not gender specific, it's 10% of marriages end up with someone paying money. Okay, that's it. It's only 10%. So 90%.
I never argued.
No, I'm just trying to address here. So again,
hold on, wait. The percentage of men who
I said people. Money too.
I never argued that. So what are you talking about?
No, so sir, when you say, oh, he's worried about losing half his assets, again, that is an incorrect statement.
That is a correct statement.
No, it's not. It's not his assets.
The correct statement is because I spent the hours with this guy or these guys that I'm referring to.
Okay, so you're talking about, again, you're not being honest.
I'm being completely honest. I
want to tell you why you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Hold on, wait.
Let me finish.
That's why I premise my statement on the information, the guys that I consult with. And I said it would be unfair for me to insert that information into this because this is more like a statistical conversation instead of the public defender addressed accurately. It's the anecdotal. That's what I agreed to.
So you want to have an anecdotal conversation based on men you know?
No, I said I didn't want to. I just was giving them the
basis. So then why are you not telling you?
Listen, all I'm doing is giving you the foundation of where my work comes from.
What's your work, if you don't mind?
So hold on. First, you got to stop interrupting me so you can kind of understand what I'm saying. I'm giving you the foundation of where I get my work from because what we were doing was we were arguing based on statistics. What I've done, I have created a luxury for myself to be able to experiment with my own data and people. You know what I'm saying? By doing thousands of hours working with people. I don't have to rely on someone else's research.
Okay, but
wait.
That's actually a false statement because I'm going to point this out. Someone who
that's not a false statement. This is what I do for a living, so it's not.
Okay, so how many people are you studying?
How many people are studying? Am I studying?
What is your core group? What is your group?
Yeah, if you're studying them, you should know exactly how many people you studied.
I study about maybe every 3 months. I have a rotation of about 200 to 300 men, and about maybe 40 to 50 women.
So usually when we're doing so usually when we're doing a stat like that, usually you have to follow that same group. It's usually around 1,000 people. That's usually the max that you would do, but you keep it around 1,000 because you have to look for consistencies and consecutive, trends, patterns. And then you can actually utilize that and say, this is my sample study. This is the study group. They have to meet this level of criteria, and then I am solely focused on this one group so that I can make.
Oh no, I don't. I don't have to bottle my neck.
Okay, but then it's not a valid study.
There is no rule that bottlenecks.
Yes, there is.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But there are rules to making. Hold on, wait. But Darwin, what she's saying is there are rules. Like I don't know if you're familiar with the term peer-reviewed studies, right? If you want,
I'm familiar with
okay.
That. What I'm saying is, I don't have to conduct my studies in a way that everybody else does. You do
no. If you want them to pass the smell test, if you want them to be accurate, then you do have to do it a certain way. That's what we're saying.
That's not how you don't have a complete understanding on how I operate to be able to make that
I don't think you're, but
if you have a complete understanding, then you will see where I would come from.
But Darwin, can we be honest and can we be fair? You're not actually studying anything. This is just what you've experienced. This is what you feel like you've experienced. You're not actually tracking this data.
These are things that I study. These are things that I research. This is data.
Okay, where is the data?
These are patterns.
Where's the data?
Stored on my drives.
Okay, so why don't you? But wait, hold on. I'm just
a piece of this conglomerate. I'm part of an organization, dude.
Oh, okay.
So are you make this up? Study a quantitative study? Are you utilizing when you're doing a study, you start off with a premise. like you're making a hypothesis.
What's your hypothesis?
Yeah. So what's your hypothesis?
So let me tell you what I do. I sit in front of men and women.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I guide them on navigating from point A to point B to reach whatever outcome they desire.
But what?
Okay.
Along the way, what I do is I collect patterns. I store problem banks, challenges, issues, or any obstacles that they might encounter along that way.
But what is your? But what is your?
You gotta let me finish.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm listening.
And what I do is I store it into a database, just like many other brothers that's a part of my organization.
Mm-hmm.
Cross-reference it to statistics, common issues, common experiments, sort of like the ones we state, and it's usually corroborated.
So if a man comes to you and says, I don't want to get married because I'm afraid that if I get divorced, she's going to take half my money, what do you tell them?
The first thing I would say, well, what outcome do you want?
I want to be married for the rest of my life, but I can't stop her from divorcing me. So it's a reality, right? Like it's a possibility, and I'm afraid.
I would advise him that he looked into the prenuptial agreements for his state.
Yeah. So I have a prenuptial. I'm going to sign a prenup, but she wants a clause in there where it says if I cheat, she could take half my shit. So what is should I still do it or?
It's a clause in there that says, I would say don't put a clause in there if that's a fear. If you have, first of all, I would say if you have a lack of discipline on being sexually moral, maybe you should tackle that before you get into a marriage.
Okay.
So I would also have to ask, what is his religious belief? What is his religious background? Because a lot of times that also has principles and standards that kind of motivate you to stay within the guidelines of how to operate as within a marriage.
Yeah, but so I think my response, what I will be looking for, I'm saying me as a, as a person that tries to makes educated decisions, right? What I would look for is a response like, well, you don't necessarily have to be worried about her taking half of your shit because most men don't get half their stuff taken. So that's not like, that's a lie. That's a lie being told by men to, to discourage you or to not even to discourage you. It ends up discouraging you, but it's a lie told by men to villainize women. But you see what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't that be the response based on the statistics?
So what we do is we try to figure out if it holds any merit that this guy indeed has the assets that could be taken.
Regardless. No. I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. Listen, Darwin. He has $5 million.
Premarital assets aren't even on the table.
Exactly.
So you need to understand the laws of the land. Also, inheritances are usually very much insulated from being utilized as community property unless they've been utilized or commingled into funds, or they've gained in so much value that has actually appreciated during the marriage. If you have a good prenuptial agreement, those things can also be determined. However, a prenuptial agreement has to be fair to both parties, otherwise it's unenforceable.
So that's what I'm saying. If you go into a marriage with a woman as a man, I'm saying, and I ask you again, if I get, what, I don't want to get married because I'm afraid she's going to take half my stuff. And your response is anything but, oh no, you don't really have to worry about that because A, she can't take half of your stuff, if you already have a bunch of stuff, and B, it's more than likely it's not going to happen. Like most men don't get half of their wealth taken away from them. Even wealthy men don't. Like that's not common. That's way less common. And thirdly, let's be honest. The vast majority of men don't have wealth, right? But to your demographic of men that you claim you're speaking to, maybe they are. Maybe they're different and they're in the top 1%. Maybe you only deal with the top 1% of men in the country. Fine, if that's your clientele. But those men, I would hope that they would be more educated and understand, the likelihood that they wouldn't actually get half of their stuff taken from them. You know what I'm saying? And thirdly, it's not half of their stuff, correct? Because if my wife and I are married and then we buy a bunch of shit and we make a bunch of money while we're married, isn't it fair that we split it half and half? How is it my stuff?
if she's helping you earn that,
She is. She is. What wife doesn't help her man earn money?
Well,
Even by her just doing the domestic labor.
But in a lot of the cases that I deal with, most of these guys are providers.
No, but being a provider, sir, just means you make the bulk of the money outside the home. Who does the work inside the home?
Who handles all the scheduling?
Most of these guys I've been dealing with are sole providers. So
Listen, hold on. Again, you didn't answer my question, brother. The sole provider, right? I've been a sole provider. I know exactly what it feels like. I know exactly what it entails. I've made 100% of the income that came in my home, right? Cool. Who was doing the most? Who was doing the majority of the labor inside my home is the question.
probably the woman.
Okay, cool. So that's a partnership. So that's a partnership, right? And if you didn't have that woman there, who would have cooked your meals? Who would have washed your dirty ass drawers? Who would have folded your clothes? Who would have made sure the lawn people came and got that taken care of? Who would have made, you know what I'm saying? Like you would have had to eat, you would have had to have either done, you'd have to have either done all of that stuff yourself, which would have no doubt taken away from you being able to make more money outside the home. And B, you would have had to pay somebody to do it again. So if you paid somebody to cook all your meals, how much money do you think that costs to have a personal chef? If you pay somebody to do laundry service for you every week, how much money does it cost to get a person to clean up? How much does it cost to get somebody to watch your kids? Like when you add all that stuff up, you're talking about somebody that should be getting paid $150,000 a year. She was doing it for free, for room and board, and then you fuck up the relationship. Y'all get divorced, and she don't deserve half the money. Like logically, that don't make sense.
No, she doesn't. Brother Darwin. No. Hold on, wait. Before we go forward, let's get Black Male in here because he's been waiting. And then we'll go to Sweeney, and then we'll come back to you. What's the KGR Psalms, and then back to you.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, no. So we're acting like single men don't do all those things, and it's crazy that we're sitting here saying like this is what women only women can do that, right? There's men that work and come home and do the same shit that does that, right? That do it on their own also. We got to stop acting like this 1950s. It's not. Darwin, are you familiar with woman is wonderful effect in psychology? Woman is wonderful in psychology? Yeah, the woman is wonderful effect. You understand that? I haven't heard of that. Okay, so it's a psychological phenomenon where people tend to attribute all the good things to women and the negative things to men. That's what it is. A psychological effect that happens with society, right? And this is what's going on here because you're talking about black male feminists. That's what happens with black male feminists, right? They tend to think that women are all these positive things. They don't even talk about the negative stuff that women bring, right? Because women bring a lot of negative. Without structure, women are chaotic, right? The Machiavellianism, the narcissism, the dark triad, right? Women have these traits when they're not under man's control. And I'm just saying control for lack of a better term right now because we're not talking about physically beating on women or doing whatever, but we can talk about abuse. We can talk about abuse most definitely, but we're talking about normal stuff. We're not talking about the extremes, right? We're talking about straight down the middle. This is what happens in our society where people tend to say, oh, that woman right there, she's good. If the relationship goes wrong, oh, what did that man do? The first thing men or women ask a man is, what did that man do? And that's that whole thing. Women are wonderful. Women are just as capable of men of doing negative stuff and messing up relationships. Women are just as capable of men of not being satisfied in a relationship and going out and cheat. They're just as capable. The difference is women don't get caught as much because men are the ones they're cheating with, and they're not going to tell that they're cheating with them. They're not going to blow up the spot. So we got to stop acting like men are the sole hurt people that actually do these negative stuff. There's studies that men and women cheated about the same rate. There's studies at that.
Yeah, it's roughly 13% for women and roughly around 21% for men.
There's studies, yeah. What's the source? There's sources that say men and women cheat about the same.
No, and again, but they break it down. It's roughly 13% for women, a little over 20%.
Is it by age group? It's by age group.
By age group, younger women cheat a little bit more than younger men, yes. but overall, but wait, black men. Hold on. Black male. None of us up here are young men. So why are you talking about young men and young women?
We're talking in general, right? We're talking in general.
In general, it means all women then, not young women.
Yes, in general. It doesn't mean an age range.
Hold on.
We're not talking about age range.
hold on, listen. Blackmailed. Listen to what I'm saying. In general, men cheat more than women. If you want to highlight specific age ranges, specifically 18 to like 21 or 23 or something like that, those women cheat slightly more than those boys at that age. Fine. But once you get past 23, 24, men cheat exponentially more than women. And the number, hold on, brother. Hold on. Bro, you gotta.
Hang on, guys. I want to open it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and cross-reference each other. But let's go ahead and finish up Blackmail, and then let's go to Sweeney, and then let's go to. Once we finish at the public, then the panel is completely open.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, when we talk about these stats, there's age ranges. That's what usually happens, right? And we're talking in general. We're talking. Let's take all the ages and throw it in the pot. And like he said, I agree. I agree. Right? Younger women cheat way more than younger men. They have. Yes, they do. Women control access to sex. They cheat way more. Men don't have access to sex like women do. They don't.
When does that stop? When does that cease to exist, Blackmail?
When does what cease to exist?
If that's your logic, if your logic is, hold on.
I want y'all to go back and
I just want to ask him this question. Because it doesn't make no sense to ask him after the fact. So what is your logic? That when does it stop then? If women control access to sex, which is a weird statement, as if both people don't have to agree to it, but whatever. If women control access to sex, right? When does that cease to be the case? Do 40-year-old men have more access to sex than 40-year-old women? When do women catch up? When do men catch up to women in that regard?
You know what you did trying to twist.
Sir, I just asked the question.
That's why I want to get everybody's take first.
Now I'm twisting his words when I point out the inherent.
Women have access. Women control access to sex because they're the ones that if they say yes, then green light, right? If they say no, red light, right?
Okay.
In society, that's how it happens, right?
Can I?
Men usually falter, right? Men falter. Men don't have harsh lines like that. We don't have strict lines. We could just have. Oh, I'm sorry. We could have sex. I could go out here and
listen.
With 100 women. Hold on, wait. Let's get Sweeney in there.
No, I want him to finish that statement, Darwin. Finish that statement.
I get it, but this is what I'm saying. I want to get everybody in first, so then we can open it back up.
Okay.
Well, the thing, all right. So I want Blackmail to be able to finish his point, and then I'll come in. But Republic, can you please let him finish his point and stop trying to jump in to like go back and forth with him? That part will come later. Just let him get his shit off, and then we can move on. Then I'll go, and then y'all can have y'all back and forth after that.
Okay.
If a man has 100 numbers in his phone, and a woman has 100 numbers in her phone, which one is going to sleep with? Which one is going to be more successful in having sex?
You want me to answer, because they don't want me to answer? Men are easy, so yeah, they can sleep with whoever they want to sleep with for the most part.
That's all I'm saying, brother. We good.
I don't know what that proved.
Access, brother. She has more access to sex than men have.
I never disagree with that.
What does that have to do with
nothing?
Anything?
Nothing.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your point of view.
Zero to do with anything we were saying.
Like, that had nothing to do with anything we were discussing. God, it's like herding cats. I swear to you, that's what it sounds like. Anyway, if we're going to continue to talk, when we talk about marriages, so Pew Research did a huge study, and it showed that here it is: in egalitarian and breadwinner wife marriages, which means the wife that either they earn the same or the wife earns more, husbands spend considerably more time on leisure activities than the wives, which means a woman is doing up to 5 hours more per. Men have 5 hours more per week on leisure activities,
which ends up being like a month a year. Like men get an extra month of leisure time a year when you do the math on it.
So the problem with that study, right? And I've already looked into that. When they count leisure time, the only reason why men have a few more hours of leisure time than women per week is because we tend to sleep less. If you look at how long women sleep in comparison to men, it would actually balance out the leisure time versus the hours sleeping in the
No,
house.
that's false.
You
Women
talk-
actually married
No,
women
I-
sleep
I-
sir.
No,
They actually have
I'm
a
telling-
study
I'm
on married women sleep less than single women.
telling
Women
you the study. I'm
sleep
telling you,
less
I
than
don't
single
care
men.
about-
Women
Listen,
sleep
listen,
less
listen,
than
listen.
You
Do
see how
not
it's
care
broken
what
down
the-
here? Do you
Right,
see how
I
it's
do
broken
not
down
care
here?
what
It
you're
says women are
Listen,
doing
listen.
6.9 hours
Let-
of
let-
doing
let-
4.6.
Man, you actually have it next
Man.
KGR son.
Yeah, he was supposed to go, I think. So I don't know.
do not care the comparison between married women and single women because that doesn't matter. I don't care how often women sleep in comparison to single women. I'm talking about married women versus their partner in the household, the married man. So when you talk about the married couple themselves, the men tend to sleep less than the women. That's why they have more time to spend on leisure. But when you talk about actual work in the house, they work comes down to about the same. So in that study where they talked about household work and how often each person versus household duties versus working outside the home, when they calculated the leisure time, they did not include the sleep time that both sexes have within the marriage. But once you account for the amount of sleep time that both of them have, it actually makes the leisure time make sense.
It does, really, because the difference between it is 6.95 hours for the woman and 6.77 hours for the man. How does that equate to 5 effing hours, my dude? In order for that to work, that is exactly what. 20
Now, you said the
I just told
you
you
said
that's from the NIH. That is the NIH. That is the study you're referencing. And that is one singular study. Actually, they stated when there are children involved, however, it changes. Women sleep less when there are children around. That is an average over the totality of marriage.
Well, I know according to that Pew Research study, it showed the amount of hours that they sleep. It didn't include it in the actual study. They talked about it later on in the study, but they did not include it in the chart. The women slept almost 3 to 4 to 5 hours more than men did.
No, they didn't, bro. Come on, man. That don't even make, bro. Y'all gotta when you say stuff though, it gotta make sense. Like married women don't sleep 3 or 4 hours more than married men. That's not like be for real. Like be for real. Y'all not, that don't make sense. That's all I'm saying. That don't add up. That means I'm waking up at 6 and my wife is waking up at 10. I'm waking up at 5 and my wife is waking up at 9. Are you serious? I'm waking up at 5. My wife is waking up at even 7. 2 hours later? No, bro. I'm waking up at 5. She waking up at 5:30. We're not saying the same thing.
From the American Enterprise Institute.
Now, look, I'm talking to this dude right now. Then explain how the hours work are literally the same, but they have different leisure time.
Because the study you're citing is probably not a real study and not accurate. No, it doesn't.
No, the Pew Research study actually says married women report less sleep than married men.
Oh, you were saying per week? I'm sorry. You were saying per week or per day? I'm sorry, brother. Were you saying per week or per day?
I said per week.
Per week. Okay. My bad. I'll take it back. I take what I said. I'll take it back. I get what you're saying. Okay. Because you were saying, I thought you were saying per day. I was like,
the study where they actually studied how often the workload that both people have within the house and within marriage and within relationships. In the actual study, in the actual chart, they do not list sleep time. But when you read the study all the way through, because it's like 9 pages for the study, and it goes and then takes a deep dive into, and then it talks about the sleep time that each person has, and it actually makes it make sense because the work hours are the same.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you think women might be more tired than men?
It doesn't fucking matter.
No, that literally does matter. Hold on, sir. That does matter. Hold on. Brother.
You asked me a question.
Hold on, man. Hey, you're missing. You're not even the fact that you didn't listen to my question. You just reflexively say what?
Can you explain that away, or you just stay up later than your wife?
What are you saying?
I just stay up later than my wife. I'm talking. I got a client in my chair, but I just stay up later than my wife. So I may spend an extra hour watching, playing a video game.
Why can you stay up an extra hour? Why are you not as exhausted as your wife is? No, sir. You're not, sir. The reason why your wife that has to go to, brother, you gotta calm down first and foremost. I'm not, sir. Put your wife on. Put your wife on and let's ask her. Put your wife on right now. Let's ask her. Since you want to speak for her, put your wife on. Since you about to lie on your wife and act like your wife I don't know why she be more tired than me. I just stay up an extra hour. So you about to lie on that woman. Let's bring her on. If not, sir, if you're not going to bring your wife on and let us ask her the question, then I'm going to have to make my own. I'm going to have to play it out logically. I got to make an assumption when people start trying to lie. You think I'm just going to take it at face value? You think I'm going to take your lies at face value, brother? I'm not going to take a man trying to gaslight me at face value. I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. You're trying to. It's just not working. Okay. It might be dumb. No. It's not that I know more about your household. I'm just being honest. I don't know more about it. Okay, sure. Have you ever asked your wife why? Hold on, wait. Let me ask you a question then, since I don't know. When was the last time you asked your wife, hey, why do you need to go to sleep so early or so much more early than me? Have you ever asked her that question? Nah, you ain't never asked her that question. You never asked her that question. So how the fuck do you know why? So how do you know why? Got him. Look, got him. I'm not about to listen to you gaslight me. I'm not about to listen to you try to gaslight me, bro. You got it. You can try to go gaslight your wife. I don't care. Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Let me recenter the conversation. Sweeney, go ahead and finish your point, and then let's get the people that just came in to add to the conversation.
All right. My point is, since he wants to ask me about that, I'm going to tell you, me and my wife wake up at the same time in the day. We both work, or she's staying at home. We both work. We both do household work. We both do it all. However, when my wife goes to sleep at 10:30, I can stay up till 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning. I don't know why. I just get less sleep than she does. It doesn't matter where she goes to sleep at a normal hour. It ain't like she's dropped and tired and falling asleep at 6 o'clock because her day is so big and so bad and so long. She just goes to sleep at a normal hour. I do not. I got two men in the shop with me right now. Do you stay up later than your wife? Hey, DJ.
All this is going to do is prove my point more, but go ahead. Thank you.
Do your wife work harder than you do?
Yeah, she does.
Does she work harder than you do?
Yeah.
Work harder than she do? Both of them just said no.
Of course they said no. Y'all some fucking liars. Y'all some damn liars. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Why would I listen to me and trying to lie to me? That don't even make sense.
One makes a claim, one doesn't believe it. Let's get Blacklight in, and then let's get Blacklight in, and then let's get Boheme. Hopefully, I pronounce that right.
Thank you for letting me out. Yeah. For TikTok purposes, I'm Black 55, whatever. I think it is important to understand why someone sleeps less than somebody else. Maybe we don't know your wife, sir. We don't know a bunch of, we know statistics, right? So statistically speaking, men will automatically think if they're a mechanic or a carpenter, they're automatically going to feel or think that they're doing a much harder and tougher job than a housewife or a woman with a job raising children, right? Because men have implicit bias, right? I work hard for my money. I'm the provider, of course I work harder than my wife. When if you stay at home raising them 3 kids and realize how hard that is, you may not have that same disposition, right? So understanding why statistically women sleep more or less than men, and like not deflecting that. Like it was weird. The deflection was weird, right? And then you accuse dude of knowing your wife or saying he knew you. He never said he knew your wife. I don't know your wife, right? And it sounds like she's a hard worker. She goes to sleep at a regular time because she doesn't have insomnia, and you might. Because if you're sleeping a whole lot less and you're working super hard during the day, doing a taxing job and being physically exerted, that's usually a sign of insomnia or sleeping problems, right? So like that you might want to check in on that one for your own health and mental well-being, because lack of sleep usually makes people irritable. Right.
Damn.
All right, let's get Bohemian in there.
Thanks. So, as far as the topic is concerned, black male misogynists and sexist are the reason why the downfall of nuclear families. Can you hear me? Because I say my connection's a little.
It's a little choppy.
Yeah, it's real tough.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Okay, hold on.
And you got the red bars. I didn't even read the prompt. When you put that prompt up there, Darwin, I didn't even see that shit.
I turned my Wi-Fi up in my.
Man, that prompt been up there the whole time.
I didn't. When I came in, you was playing the video. That's why I didn't even see it.
Oh yeah, I just went to the video where
Can
you
you hear me
didn't have a wife or I wasn't getting no sex.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear this.
I didn't even see that mug.
But if I'm being honest, the black family has not really ever been a nuclear family. Like it hasn't really been a thing. So it's hard to say what the downfall of the black family was. It's so many different things. But I can guarantee you it's never been a black man who supports their women. And historically, they have been the group of men to actually support their women until proximity to whiteness, until they gain, the desegregation and all of these things, right? But once black men wanted to be so close to whiteness, that is when they turned against their women. So our men supporting us has never been the downfall of our family. Actually, it helped us a lot in history. They protected us more back in the day than they do now. So I don't agree with that statement.
If I may, just to touch upon the prompt, I really, and I say this to red pillars and people of that ilk all the time, that the black men that blame black women they should actually be blaming white institutional racism, the war on drugs that put black men in prison and made sure that they couldn't let black women with children moving into projects and in the project and the federal housing, the state housing. The men weren't allowed to move back in with the families, and there was no rehabilitation. So you take generations of young black men, incarcerate them, and not let them be able to move back in with the families that they started before or during their prison sentence. And then the new generations of children blaming the mothers for not having the fathers around, right? So now you have black men who blame black women, the Kevin Samuelites, the red pillars, right? And they're blaming black women for institutional, for the prison institution and the justice institution and things that have held us down. Like we are more liberated in 2025 than ever before, but people forget history, and especially when they're living through not having a parent and living through not being able to be and dealing with broken homes and seeing women being independent. They were independent because men were taking out of the neighborhoods. Right?
What? Nah, wait, hold on, hold on. Real quick.
Let me finish.
All right.
The neighborhoods were flooded to see that. Look, we ain't got cocoa fields in Harlem or Oakland or LA. We ain't got opium fields, right? This stuff was brought into the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods were flooded with drugs by the CIA and other concern and drug and non-government drug dealers and the drug dealers. Sorry, and then the youth were imprisoned in the 70s and 80s. So now we have people who blame all that on black women.
I want to say a couple of things. The things that I hear black men saying about black women today is the same shit I heard. Like I have videos of black men saying the same shit in the 60s. I just saw a video today of black men saying it about black women in the 80s. Like black men have been telling this lie about black women since the turn of the century. Like it's not a new phenomenon. I promise you, it's not new. This is a very old thing that has been, the lies, you know what I'm saying, being told, blaming black women. Say, hold on, brother, please. It is definitely rooted in white supremacy, absolutely, because misogynoir comes from white supremacy. Misogyny existed before misogynoir, so men blaming women is as old as time itself. You know what I'm saying? Black men blaming black women specifically is a relatively new phenomenon, right? Because that only started happening, post chattel slavery and deconstruction, reconstruction, all that stuff. But no, I don't blame the 80s smack or whatever epidemic. I don't blame Reaganomics. I don't like the reason why, because white men abandon their families too. You know what I'm saying? White men. So when you look at divorces and you look at child abandonment after said divorce, right? We know white people, the majority of white people get divorced, right? Like over 60% of white people get divorced in their lifetime. Roughly 22 to 23% of those men after divorce completely abandon their children. So that's white men, by the way. When we talking mayors, that's white. They ain't black. Black men wouldn't be able to create that number. Almost 25% of fathers abandon their children completely after a divorce. About another 20% see their kids once a month, and about another 20% see their kids twice a month. So the majority of men, right? I'm sorry, not the majority. You could say with that in those numbers, the majority of men at some point in time either neglect their kids or completely abandon their kids at some point. That is not specific to the black community, but it is exacerbated in the black community when you add to that racism, misogynoir, economic oppression, and so on and so forth. That it just makes it worse in the black community. But it is definitely an issue that is connected to maleness way more than it's connected to blackness. Men abandoning children. Genghis Khan had more children across the globe than any man on the face of the planet, allegedly. He had like over 10,000 kids, some shit like that. Like men spreading their seed and abandoning their kids is not a new phenomenon. That is men have been doing that forever. That is not new.
I really need to state this fact. Black men statistically are in their lives, in their children's lives in America more than
No, we're not.
More than European.
No, we're not.
Hold on, let him finish, brother.
Yeah, but we're not though.
That's only when they're still
that's when we're there, not when we're not there though.
Y'all are gonna disagree with this, but what we do is gotta let people finish their perspective.
I mean, yeah, because when I tried to say something when you were talking, then I politely stopped talking, but like it's just a back and forth. But if you want, the minute detail is when we are there, we are there. And you know, many black fathers. I'm a black father. I've raised my ex. I don't call her a baby mama, but my daughter is grown. I got grandkids, and I'm in a beautiful relationship with a black woman. I got a 9-year-old son. I'm in my child's life. Most of the people I know are in their child's life. The propensity of black men are in their child's life, right? Now, statistically, when you get to a certain age group and a certain demographic, it is exacerbated. There's no arguing about that. And you stated a bunch of facts that are straight facts that have no pushback, right? And I can accept it. And the idea that I shouldn't be blaming the institutional racism of Reaganomics or the school to prison pipeline or any of those things. I think those things are a factor. I don't blame all those things on our predicament as parents, as Black parents, in totality on those.
The reason you can't blame those things is because Black women are still, for all intents and purposes, Black women have figured out a way to thrive. So what would be the excuse then? They are, hold on, wait. And that's the lie, because Black women actually were imprisoned. Black women actually were picked. Hold on, brother. Black women, I know. Black women. I'm just because the reason, but the reason why I'm interrupting is because the yeah, the reason why I interrupted was because to let somebody, hold on, brother. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I got you, bro. You ain't got a cyber slurp. It's okay. I got it. We talking.
No, we're not talking.
I wasn't talking to you, Black. I was talking to this dude. Go ahead. I'm listening to you, Black. Go ahead.
You know, I try to give the same energy I get. I try to be really respectful, and you seem to not. And even if I'm wrong, I'm willing to be wrong and learn new information and have learning moments. But if you choose to not let me get the entire thought out, I'd rather just calm down because I'm not into arguing. That's fine. That's fine. Too old to argue with niggas. Okay, so I like to argue when people say stupid stuff. So I'm gonna go on and hold on, wait. I'm not even saying that about you. I'm just saying in general, when people say stupid shit, I like to push back in real time. I'm not even saying it about you specifically, brother.
Let me recenter the conversation. Let's everybody tap the screen, please. And then I want to do is I want to get I think like Lashia B came in.
Lashia.
And I don't know who the other guys are.
My name is Shiva.
Shiva came in. We want to get those guys in, and then I want to pose a question, and then y'all can have it again.
Okay. Can I finish my thought, Darwin, real quick, and then okay.
Wait. I want to do is share. I want to share the conversation with everybody that's present. So go ahead, Lashia. Go ahead and say what you got to say, and then Shiva, go what you say, and then I'm gonna pose a question.
Thank you.
My name is Lasha B.
Sorry, Lasha.
To the prompt, I don't think that Black male feminists are to blame for anything. This sounds like a new coined term to me because I didn't know that there needed to be a name for a Black man that is supportive of political and wage rights for women. I just thought that was just a normal thing. Any man would want to see his wife doing a good job. And with that being said, I don't think that it's really necessary to have an entire dissertation or discourse about whether a woman or a man works more and who's to blame for the downfall of a family. At the end of the day, a woman, kind of like taking it back a little bit, a woman may need more sleep just based on the fact of while you were sleeping at 3 a.m. in the morning, my son peed through his pull-up. And so now my husband's sleeping comfortably and I gave him that leisure to do that because he is the sole provider. And I know that he's going to wake up at 6 a.m. But I decided to wake up at 3 a.m. and change that diaper and change those sheets. That's just a perfect example of why the next day I'm going to sleep at 10 and you're going to sleep at 2 a.m. But I digress. I just personally feel like being in support of your partner shouldn't be an entire talking point for not your panel, but anyone's panel, because I'm seeing that this prompt came from a red pill panel. And I just think that that's absolutely insane.
Oh, I wouldn't, people label it. People can label it, but I don't label it as a red pill panel. I understand people got their own perspective. That's fine. Shiva, you want to go ahead and give your point?
Yeah, sure. Okay, on my end, I'm in South Florida, and I live in Miami, and it is kind of like crazy out here. It's a zoo. You know, it's a lot of things that have changed. Like right now, I see things different. I'm a single father. I just finished a 2-year divorce battle. Now I have custody of my son, 50-50, and I had to put the mother on child support. And it was very difficult for him going through this. And our youth are really suffering because of the access of how women are doing things down here. It's just insane. It's
Black?
fly by night.
Are you black?
I'm Indian. But
Okay, so this is
I
a
do
black
have,
conversation.
I do have black family members as well.
Yeah, you know,
Friends as well.
I have white socks. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
Sir, he's allowed to speak up here as well. Let him get his thought.
and what I'm realizing more is that I'm hanging out with a bunch of single dads from different cultures, and they're going through such a huge process based on what the courts are putting us through because, you know, of the 50-50 split. I have a friend that actually was divorced. He's going through the court system, and he still couldn't see his own child that he loves very much. These single dads out here are really taking care of their kids because the women are pretty much abandoning them. And it's really sad. And we have to pick up all the slack, take care of the future generations. And that's the reality that we live in. And it's crazy to actually see that women are constantly going sideways or just looking at materialistic things instead of like valuing the core family. That's all I have to say.
Thank
All
God.
right, now look, I'm gonna pose this question, and then I'm gonna start with the public offender, and then we're gonna work our way around clockwise.
Host, can I touch on what was already said before you bring the next part?
Yeah, since you came in here, yeah, go ahead. Be quick.
Appreciate it. I wanted to say, like, as far as concerning, like, men who are being seen as abandoning their children or not being in their lives, I think there's a lot of stuff being left out. One is the fact that when you look at a lot of men who moved on and have children again, you kind of got to take out of the equation the fact that they don't want to be dads. And I say that to say because you have a lot of challenges that's presented to fathers that should never be an issue, like a relationship not working out and a woman being narcissistic towards the dad on behalf of using the child as a pawn, and that man moves on. Those are things that is also not being pulled out as statistics because a lot of that happens. Anybody who would then try to double back to then try to assassinate that man to make it like he's not in this child's life, and that man is crying out to that woman or that mother that she's playing a major part in the trauma and what he's going through to try to even be in this child's life is definitely narcissistic.
Narcissistic.
Yes, you're right.
And manipulative, and tries to make the man look like he don't want to be a father. I've seen it far too many times. And another thing is that when a man is involved, you also have, it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, where you have a lot of women who will say, oh, he only does this because he wants to look like he's good. He shows up and does this, and then wants to generalize or just trying to control him and tell him how to be a father. Like if he shows up at certain events, he's only doing that to try to do something, but he don't do this. It's like, in spite of what he don't do, if he is doing something and maybe not be doing all that you think he should do or the way you think he should do it, also does not disqualify the fact that he's in that child's life and he's being a father. That's what I wanted to say.
All right, so now we're gonna start with the public offender, and I'm gonna pose this question as the question for everybody to answer. If you don't want to answer, you can just jump into cross-referencing somebody else.
Okay.
If you like to answer, you can. I just want to give it to y'all. And I'm gonna pose the question the Republican senator first, and then we'll go clockwise from there. So the question is, if the black nuclear family never existed, then why the U.S. Census records from the 1960s show that over 80% of black children were raised in two-parent households, higher than today's number for any race? Are we rewriting history or just avoiding responsibility for how we got it? Go ahead.
Yeah. So like I addressed earlier, I was saying that there was a brief window where Americans, black or white, had access to a nuclear family, meaning like a father goes out to work and a mom stays at home, and they can afford to, you know, have a house and have a car, and you know what I mean, and live that type of lifestyle, right? There was a very brief window. That's why you have to go all the way back to the 1960s, and that's why it ended in the 1970s. And if you don't know why it ended in the 1970s, I believe it happened because of the deindustrialization of America. When the factories left and the jobs left and things of that nature, that's pretty much when it went away. It was always the idea of it was a capitalist dream for everybody to move out of multi-generational homes where they, you know, lived with their grandmothers. It was 2-3 generations in the home, and you know, everybody was helping everybody, and you could save your money and so on and so forth. It was always a capitalist dream to get us out of those situations and force us into this rugged individualism, like Dr. King spoke about a long time ago. That was always the plan for working class people, black or white. That was always the plan. But again, because of racism, it made it worse in the black community. And secondly, I'll go back because what I just addressed has something to do with what I was saying before. So, black men abandon their kids more than any other demographic of men per capita. When black men are in the home, we, according to some studies, we do contribute more, right? Self-reported. And I would agree with that. Fine. That's great. When we're in the home, we show up more, we cook more, we read more to the kids. I can agree to that. I will also like to point out, and this is not, I don't know, I'm just connecting dots here. Also, the demographic of women who are the bread earners in their home, the largest demographic of female bread earners are black women. Black women are the breadwinners in their home more than any other demographic of women. So it would make sense that if black men are not the breadwinners in the home, when they are in the home, and the black woman is the breadwinner, then he might step up more and do more with the kids and all of that stuff. I can see that being the case. If it's connected in the other way, right? If women do more in the home because men do more outside of the home, then why wouldn't it be the same way in reverse, right? So, anybody saying show me statistics, you can just go look it up. You can go look up black women being the largest demographic of per capita, largest demographic of breadwinners in their homes. I'm not making that up. It's 100% true. And I think that really tells a bigger part of that tale than, you know, just because what is the assumption here? I think the reason what somebody asked earlier in the comments, they said, why are you always bringing up other races? I'm not trying to bring up other races. What we need to understand is when we have these discussions, if the root causes of the issues aren't because we are black, right? But we address the issues from the perspective of it's because we're black, then we're never going to get to the root fucking cause of the issue. If you think that the reason why black men abandon their kids is because we're black, you're dumb. That's anti-black. That's what I'm saying. If you don't think it is misogyny that is the reason why we abandon our kids, because men are socialized to not see children as human beings, and we're socialized to punish women. If you're not able to connect that dot, then you're never going to get to the root cause. Because then you think, it's the money. It's no. Wealthy men abandon their kids. Look up Brian McKnight. Wealthy men abandon their. How many? Look up Elon Musk. There are tons of wealthy men that are abandoning their kids. Black men too. Look up Anthony Edwards. There are tons of 100 millionaire black men abandoning their kids. So it's not just money. It's not just that we're it's not one. It is because the root cause of it is misogyny. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Actually, I just want to. Can I have a big screen really quickly?
Yeah, no, but really, I gotta go to work. I just want to make sure it's cool.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
since the host, I let Black White get in there because he got to go to work, and then we're gonna come back to sounds.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. And in fact, I know the statistics. You're completely right. I always talk about the intersectionality of classism, misogyny, patriarchy. The religious fundamentalism that affects us as people, implicit bias that makes us anti-Black. That's why earlier when you were talking to the other dude trying to get to the root cause of what was going on, I really appreciated your candor. What is that? The people? YT?
Public offender? Yeah.
YT. I just see white.
Public offender.
Name, my
YT
bad.
stands for YouTube, brother.
And I just want to say before I go, there is no pushback for anything you said because it is just base fact, right? And the point that I was getting at before, I'm not even trying to make that point because I think it was being misunderstood. Because me and you agree with each other. Like I'm not trying to mince on minutia when being a Black liberationist and anti-colonialist and supporting Black women, I think we could all agree on. Well, at least me. I would agree that me and you would probably agree with that shit. But I thank you for letting me up on the panel. Y'all have a great day.
All right, can we get sounds to go? I can't put your screen on the big screen. I don't know what the host said, so I'm just gonna go ahead. Like if you could just describe what you got in the
Okay,
in the
so
picture.
this is Pew Research showing that in Black marriages, 34% are egalitarian, which means they earn the same, and 26% are the woman is the primary provider. So if you add those two numbers together, you get 60% of Black women either are the egalitarian, meaning they earn the same, or they're the primary breadwinners in the home. Only 40% of Black men are primary breadwinners. And it's not even really sole. They literally are saying they just earn more. So that would be part of that. Also, I did want to earn more. So that would be part of that. Also, I did want to get to the point of this whole, are Black male feminists to blame for the downfall, to blame.
All right, y'all. All right, y'all. That was fun. It just happened naturally, man. I was making videos and I saw old boy on. That was that dude. Damn, I wish I could. I'll find this page for you. I'll find this page for y'all right now. I'll tell you who he is right now. I'll tell you who he is right now. His name is like Darwin, but he makes a bunch of videos. He's on YouTube. He's pretty big on YouTube. He was just live, and I was like, man, let me jump up in this live real quick. Cause I've been wanting to chop it up. I've been wanting to chop it up with this dude for a minute. So I'm gonna try to get on with him. You know what I'm saying? I just hit him and was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's do this again. But but on a more personal, like him and I. Mm-hmm. I don't know why he don't put his YouTube page in here, but it's Darwin McPherson on YouTube. Darwin McPherson on YouTube. Darwin McPherson on YouTube. Okay, so this is. I'm gonna show y'all who he is. So y'all could have an idea who I was talking to. That's why I slid up in there. I was like, man, let me talk to this dude. I've been needing to get at this guy for a minute. I've been
You want to know why
meaning to
men
get
over
at this
40 are
dude
staying
for a
single?
cool.
I'll tell you why. Because society raised women to be wives to careers, not husbands. And now the men who were once overlooked are watching rebellion unfold and choosing peace over chaos. These ain't excuses. These are the raw, unfiltered reasons men are walking away from modern women, and many of them don't plan on looking back. You better. How to make her miss you after a breakup. Phase 1, communication. C's responding to all DMs, texts, and interactions between mutual friends that can run back and give updates. Phase 2, disappear. Distance yourself from being seen by her or any mutual friends who can report back and give status updates. Don't interact to any posts that can be seen by her or mutual friends. Phase 3, level up. Improve on your finances, fitness, and mental health. Don't hang out, don't go out, stay home and beat your meat, and focus on production.
This is the dude I wanted to talk to. As soon as I seen him up, I was like, oh, I gotta talk to this brother. And it started off cool. We, you know what I'm saying? We had a little bit you can't fire me, I quit. Exactly. Yeah, typical red pillar, but he got a lot of motion. So I'm really trying to man, I would really like to be able to sit down and just every, what I'm saying, like once a week, just talk to one of these dudes, man, honestly. But it's so hard to get them, man. They don't be wanting to have a convo with me. That's why I gotta get them. What up, Darwin? Hey, he here. Hey, Darwin, let's do it on YouTube, brother. I was just about to say, let's do it on YouTube, fam. Let's do it on YouTube, man. Come on. I would love to have a discussion with you. I didn't want 19 people on the panel with me. It don't really, you know what I'm saying? I do my own thing. I don't need 9 people up there. It needs to be us doing it. You know what I'm saying? You and me doing it back and forth. I think we talk enough. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't need 9 people on the panel with us. But yeah, bro. I say let's do it, man. Let's set something up and let's do a little joint thing. You know what I'm saying? We can link it up. We can do it live, or we can do it on the back end. I'm cool with doing it on the back end. You know what I'm saying? Like we could do it like a podcast pretty much, and then release it. That way it don't be we ain't got no crowd. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some people don't like it like that. It'd be too uncomfortable for them. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I hit you up on on TikTok, but I'm gonna hit you up again and let's get that going though, man. I think that'd be interesting. But yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna go on though, man. I'm gonna go eat lunch and go get my baby and stuff. He stopped my whole little thing. I seen him. Oh, shoot you my email? Okay, I'll do it right now. So I don't forget. Y'all know my ADHD bad than a mug. Shoot me your email. I'll forget. Gmail.com. All right, email is sent. I mean, I shot you the email. It's in the thing, or I'll email you too. Yeah, that's what I'll do. But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I'm gonna go on and dip out. I got to get my baby in like 20 minutes or so. Still in the line. Portia said she gonna watch it, but she gonna talk shit. That's the point. Watch it and talk shit. That's what I want. Nah, he married. Barbara. That man married. That a black guy to say this guy was cyber topping himself. Jesus. There we go, man. Y'all. You said Darvin said he already cooked over. That's why I said we don't got to do it publicly, bro. If you don't want to, I'm good with it. I don't care. I go in y'all spaces. They be afraid to come in I don't care. I go in anybody's space. But we could do it on the back end with no audience. I think it'll be cool. Like I said, to do it like a podcast. And then we can release it. I think that'd be dope. But yeah, I'm gonna get on, man. Hey, shout out to the Tapper Shappers and Super Chatters, though, for real. I love y'all, man. Miss your lives once a week is not enough. I'm sorry, Portia. I got something on the way, though. Don't worry. They got questions. Bet that's what's up. See, I like Darwin. He ain't like, hey man, we need more. We need them to be more like Darwin. I ain't gonna hold you. They be nervous. They don't be one to have the discussion live. But yeah, I'm with it though. I'm with it though. Yeah, man. All right, I got y'all, man. I'm about to dip. I'm out of this thing.